Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Dad Talk today. We are on week 3 of trying to bring awareness to a very serious situation. Fathers that are going through something that is just so crazy, man. I couldn't imagine being a father and being told that my son is actually a girl or that somebody was going to give them a surgery and alter their body. But that's where we are. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on before everybody got on is I've been promoting this over the past couple of weeks. I've seen so many comments of people saying, oh, this ain't real. This isn't really happening. This is just some right-wing propaganda that's not actually happening. They're doing this because of election season. So I am dedicating however long it takes. We might even go into next month with this as well. I'm going to show you just how many fathers this is going on with. And I would ask the viewers, whatever your political affiliations, listen to this. And I want you to put yourself in these fathers' shoes. If that was your kid, what would you want to happen? At some point in time, we got to put these politics aside and say, we got to do what's right for the kids, man. This is really getting out of hand. But two gentlemen, I really got a lot of respect for. I'm going to bring on Adam Vena, Mr. Jeff Younger, and I'm joined by Dwayne Moore. Gentlemen, what's going on tonight?
What's going on? Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Jeff, you've had a lot of action going on in your case lately, and it's a full-time job just keeping up with what's going on there, and I want to get updates from you. But really quick, Adam, I wanted you to introduce yourself. This would be your first time coming on Dad Talk. I've talked to you over the past year, and I'm glad we finally got you on. Tell everybody a little bit about your case and what you're going through in the state of California.
Well, first, again, thank you for having me on. I've been watching you guys for a while now, and you guys are doing some great work out there, giving the fathers a voice, and I think that's what fathers need right now. It all started when my son now is 6 years old, and it started at 2 years old with my son is when I received the first text message of my son in a pink dress. And I was shocked. I was at work when I got it. I got home, sent the text message over to my father and basically saying, how could she do this to my son? And then I responded back to her with a few text messages, basically saying, what the hell are you doing to my son? Why are you doing this to my son? And I thought it had stopped at that point. And then on my son's 3rd birthday, we negotiated that she would have him on his birthday, which is the 26th of June, and I would have him the next day. This whole entire case, before it got into family court, I was always trying to keep it out of the family court system. You know, I was always trying to negotiate just to stay on the good side.
Faith.
Yes, thank you. And me and my son were having a great day. I took him to a indoor playground because it was hot out, and we were getting ready for cake and ice cream. We were potty training him at the time. He said, Daddy, I got to go to the bathroom. I said, perfect, buddy. Do you need help or do you want to go by yourself? He says, no, I want to go by myself. I said, great, dude. I said, if you need help, let me know. So he went in there, he did his thing, and he came back. He said, Dad, I need help washing hands. I said, perfect. So he washed his hands. And as we were drying his hands, he said, Mom had bought me a pink dress. And the way I'm going to tell you guys and the way I'm going to tell your followers, I got down on one knee. I looked that little boy square dead in his eyes. I said, hey, buddy, you're a boy, not a girl. Boys don't wear dresses. And he said, okay, Daddy. And we walked out of the restroom and we finished the day. Cake and ice cream, hung out, and everything was great. And a few days later, it was really, really steaming in me, really, really steaming. And I sent out a group of text messages, 46 of them to her. And neither in any of those text messages were there any threats of violence. There was never any threats of violence or I'm going to come kidnap my son. Nothing like that. It was basically saying, what the fuck? Don't do that to my son. And in those groups of text messages, she was able to get a TRO pulled out on me. Mm. And that TRO was against her and against him. And they said it was harassment. So we go to court. Judge Harvey Silverman out of Pasadena, California. I could tell that this was going to be a very one-sided situation. And a lot of the times in court, I wanted all of us to sit down at a desk or at a table and talk about this, but that never happened. It was very, very one-sided. This whole entire court case was very, very one-sided. And I always said in court, if you would have sat us down like adults, like I've requested numerous of times, you would not have the pissed off father that you have on your hands today. But because you guys never sat me down and you guys never asked me what I think is going on with my son, this is why you have the pissed off father you have on your hands today. So Judge Harvey Silverman orders a gender assessment to be done on my son at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles by Dr. Jonathan Juarez. And mind you guys, this is a gender clinic for adolescent youth. Go ahead. Sorry.
At 6 years old.
No, this was at Aiden was 4 years old at the time.
4.
Yeah, this started younger.
Yeah, 4 years old at the time. And I spoke out. Guys, let me tell you,
4.
I knew as soon as that little boy was going to go to that hospital, I knew it was over with. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew that my son was done for at that point. The assessment, so backtrack a little bit. When I found out about the assessment, I wanted to sit on the assessment, and that was denied. The courts and the attorneys denied me to sit in to ask my own questions to Dr. Jonathan Juarez. I requested a phone call from the doctor to have him hear my side of the story and what was going on. That was denied. I went as far as hiring my own child therapist, not to sway left or right, nothing like that, but to get an honest opinion of what was going on with my son, and that was denied.
So they ordered this, and you as the parent weren't allowed to voice your concerns? You weren't able to be a parent?
Correct.
Okay.
They denied me. I have been denied father's rights from the very beginning of this TRO. The very beginning of the TRO, I have been denied father's rights. It took me a year I was paying for private school for my son during COVID, right? I wanted my son to get social interactions with other people besides family and family, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted him to have the social interactions. She was paying very little. I was paying majority of it. When I requested to get progress reports, it took the attorneys a year to get me progress reports on my son on what was going on. And is what I know now, and what I think is what I know now, is that they were hiding this situation from me. The reason why I know they were hiding the situation from me is because a concerned parent from the private school hit me up on Facebook and said, Adam, I feel like you have a right to know what's going on with your son. I said, okay, what's going on? She's all, can I send you something? And Eric, I believe I sent you that screenshot of the letter that they sent to the school.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have it plugged in right there. I'm sorry, Adam.
No, it's all good. So basically the email was basically saying at the age of 4 that Aiden is now full transgender. And the little boy that you used to know now, and you wonder why he's using the girls' restroom instead of the boys' restroom, the little boy that likes to wear dresses is no longer a boy, but he feels that she is full transgender and comfortable in the body. And if you have any questions, please email me and I can give you reading books on how to deal with this situation. That's at 4 years old, gentlemen. 4 years old.
4.
My son was already condemned that he was a girl at 4 years old. So they denied me everything from Children's Hospital. We're going on 2 years, almost 3 years. I still have not heard from Dr. Jonathan Juarez. I have physically gone down to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles off of Wilshire Boulevard, where the adolescent youth place is. This is for adolescent youth. And try to have a sit down with Dr. Jonathan Juarez. And anytime that I go in there, they always remove me from security. And they always tell me if I come back again, they're going to hit me with a trespassing charge. They'll call LAPD and they'll hit me with trespassing. So I have not talked to the Dr. Jonathan Juarez from Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Anytime I call the Children's Hospital, I tell them this is the crazy thing. I tell them how old my son is. And they go, how old is your son? I said, he's 4 years old. Well, why is he here? I don't know, ma'am. You tell me. She's like, this is an adolescent youth clinic. I was like, well, he's 4 years old. So they're even blown away why a 4-year-old is at an adolescent youth gender clinic. So yeah, the assessment was 90 guys. It was 90 minutes long. My son pitched a fit. They talked for 5 minutes with my son, and the remainder of the time is with my son's mother. So, and go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, is this the one you're talking about, Adam?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us what's going on in this.
So this is basically stating that my son is full transgender. Like I said, I can read it real quick. It says, my son It says, "My name is blank. I am Aiden's mom. I have had the pleasure of meeting a few of you, and I'm sure that you all know Aiden, the little boy who wears dresses. Up to this point, mind you guys, I didn't know he was wearing dresses at school. I had only thought that he was wearing dresses at school. I mean, at home. Sorry, folks. And basically, it's just saying that this transition is easier for children than most adults, especially ones that know Aiden is still Aiden and has not changed in any way. In case you or your child has any questions or comments that may require more, it basically is saying that he's a girl now, no longer a boy."
It's really transitioned the language from one paragraph to the next. They went down to Aiden knows the words she will use if and when any of her peers question the fact.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I would never have known about this email if it wasn't for this concerned parent. And I'm very grateful. I've talked to the parent a few times, and they're great people, and I'm very grateful. But I saw that email. I was in the cab of my work truck, and I completely lost it in the cab of my work truck. Thank God I've got a support advisor, and I called him, and he allowed me to go home early that day. But again, this whole case has been very, very one-sided from the very beginning. They have never asked me what I think is going on with my son Aiden, and it's heartbreaking, guys. It really is heartbreaking. Like, I can understand if from what I understand, the only way that a child can be removed from a parent or parents in the state of California if there's abuse or neglect. There was never any abuse and neglect in my situation, never. And they completely railroaded me from the very beginning. They refer to my son in court as my daughter. They refer to my son in court as Luna, and they refer to my son with she, her pronouns. And again, I say Luna because I hear that name on a lot of kids that are transitioning like this. They use the word Luna, the name Luna. And I don't know if that comes from a cartoon, a book, but it's not the first time that I've heard a boy who is trying to transition use that name. So I don't know where that name comes from.
But that's what they're doing with James.
Yeah, Jeff, does this sound kind of familiar?
Yeah, it's the playbook that was played against me. The mother socially transitions a child. The schools, under the confidentiality rights that the school counselors have, socially transition the child at school without telling the father. Then the courts treat it as a fait accompli. It's just done, and this is the status quo: is that your son is a girl. They treat it like the status quo, and then if you fail to assent to it, they systematically strip you of all parental rights on the basis that you're harmful to the child's well-being, emotional well-being. Luna is actually the name of a book. It's a famous transgender book.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's a book. It's a book that's recommended in many of the online groups for mothers of transgender children, the sick women who want to push their boys to be girls. And the whole concept of it is developed by lawyers, initially with WPATH. But now, for example, in California, you have guys in the ACLU like Asaf Orr who have developed judicial training where they train the judges on this stuff. And Children's Hospital is really the epicenter of all of this. Anytime you hear this happening to a child, almost always it will be a children's hospital involved. Children's Hospital in Texas got in big trouble because they continue to do these transgender procedures even after I spent 6 years and $200,000 getting a law to outlaw these barbaric practices. So it's Children's Hospital is one of the big problems here. The science, however, is slowly turning our way. All of the Scandinavian countries, which started doing this 20 years before we did, have outlawed these practices. The UK just outlawed it with a comprehensive scientific review called the CAS report, which everybody should get a hold of. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons just a few days ago repudiated these procedures based on the scientific evidence. So they're slowly winning. So one of the things I think that's happening with Adam's wife and my ex-wife, is they're trying to rush this process because they know time's running out.
Well, I believe that too.
Eventually it'll be banned, and that'll be that. But I think we need to submit something very serious here. I'm really focused on what we can do about things, and practical things that we can do about things. And one of the things that we need to start threatening, credibly threatening, is removing from psychology its professional designation. So this is a pseudoscience that in the 1960s and 70s was lobotomizing women. Women who were uppity or mouthy, they would lobotomize them. In the 1980s, they were giving electroshock to obstreperous black children, giving them permanent brain damage. In the 1990s, they had the repressed memory bullshit that led to false convictions of hundreds and hundreds of innocent people and the destruction of businesses and families. You get into the early 2000s and you get this transgender nonsense. I mean, this is a pseudoscience which has done immense damage to America's social fabric. And we need to seriously tell our legislators that psychology simply doesn't deserve a professional designation in our state anymore. And they shouldn't be allowed to testify as experts in courts.
So one of the guys, he's been on Dad Talk before, and I know both of you know him, Harrison Tinsley. One of the things that's been going around in the media is his case about winning this. We got a comment in here. If Harrison Tinsley can get custody of his 4-year-old son in liberal California, Texas should have done the same with Jeff, yet Texas Supreme Court let his wife whisk James to Cali to be forcibly trans. I think there is one very important thing here. I think Harrison would be in the same exact situation. Didn't his ex get in trouble? And that's the only reason that he ended up getting custody of his son. It's not because he found relief in the courts, but it's because she messed up.
Right.
Yeah, his case was not decided on the transgender issue. His ex-wife simply became overtly physically abusive to his child. And his case actually has little or no effect on the transgender law in California.
Right.
Yeah.
Have we seen a successful case battled inside of the courts with something like the two of you guys?
No, and we haven't even seen a successful case in Texas.
Yeah. I think it's because it's so new. There's nobody knows. Yeah. I think that's why some of us are having trouble finding a good attorney, is because this whole transgender stuff is so new. They don't know. And Jeff, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong too. There's not enough case study. There's not enough. There's nobody out there to figure out how to fight what's going on with like me and Jeff's situation. No one knows how to fight it. I mean, and
right.
Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, here's my view, but I'm gonna get real persnickety here.
Yeah.
So if you look at our champion legal organizations, Alliance Defending Freedom, First Liberty, Thomas More Institute, right? These are ones that come to mind. How in the hell is it possible that the brightest legal minds on the right have no idea, no playbook on how to fight this? That's bullshit. I don't believe them when they say that.
They don't want one.
They don't want one, and they tell you they don't go into family court. Well, that's bullshit. They went into family court on the gay marriage debates, so that's all bullshit too. Let me tell you what it is, and this is something that people have a hard time getting their head around. The transgender movement in the United States was founded and funded by the largest Republican donors, guys like Paul Singer and guys like James Pritzker. They started the transgender movement, the Human Rights Campaign, which is the strongest and most powerful transgender lobby in the world. The reason our pride flags are flying at our embassies, across the world and offending everybody, that is being done because Paul Singer funds the Human Rights Campaign. So Paul Singer is the largest donor to the Republican Party. He's also the largest donor to all these foundations I just mentioned. So what's happening is Republicans and conservatives in leadership positions are being influenced by this liberal donor class more than they are their electorate. And the truth of the matter is they'd rather take the money than help the kids. And that's just the bottom line.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing behind family court, not just this particular issue. Anything that's going to take money out of their pockets. No.
Yeah, these foundations have no interest in doing this because their donors don't want them to.
Right.
That's why Heritage Foundation rarely issues any opinions about this. Everybody stays away from this issue. And you basically can't get lawyers in Texas. I can't get a lawyer in Texas to take my case at all.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and very few lawyers in California will. I mean, that's just how it is.
Go further into that, Jeff. Why won't they take the case?
So the most feared social lobby group in America is the Pink Mafia. It's the LGBT groups. And there's two reasons for it. One, they have no limits. They'll go after your kids. They'll go after your business. They'll go after your property. They'll go after your bar license. They'll go after any business licenses you have, whatever it is, they'll go after it. The other thing is those groups have the support of Antifa. So where Antifa operates freely, you will live under the constant threat of violence, real violence. Like, ask Andy and Go, who has brain damage from Antifa violence in Portland. So like these people are serious business. And so these people are just afraid of all that, Now me, I've been scrapping with Antifa since the 1980s, long before it was cool, gentlemen. I was in street fights with them in London. I've been in street fights with them in Germany. I've been in street fights with them in Houston, Texas, back in the 1980s. And I love nothing more than knocking the teeth out of a fucking communist's mouth. Believe me. I'm not afraid of Antifa. But these guys are. They're not street fighters. They don't know how. They don't know. They're afraid of professional repercussions. And they're just simply not going to risk their bar license to help you save a boy's life. They're not going to do it. They're going to let that boy go.
Right.
I think that's the hardest part to hear too, Jeff. I mean, to be honest with you, with, an organization that you look up to, like, I'm not a Republican, but anyways, you look upon those type of people and they preach that they're on the right side of the law. They're on the right side of God and everything that, but then we've got cases like yours. We got cases like mine. We've got, and you don't hear anything.
You can't get any help. You cannot, but the left gets tons of help. Let me give you an example. So in my ex's case, I have a federal case against her. I'm asking for declaratory relief on the gag order that I'm under. This interview is illegal right now. I'm violating my gag order, and I don't follow it. I've told every judge under the sun I'm never going to follow that gag order.
You've been doing that for years, Jeff.
Yeah. And I keep telling them, please, send me to jail on contempt because I want to go up on a federal writ of habeas corpus and just get this done with. So you can't do this to me anymore. They don't want to do that because they lose, So I've gone up into federal court in the California Central District seeking, declaratory relief. Basically, I want a judge to declare that the order is unconstitutional and unenforceable. That's all I want. I'm not asking for sanctions. I'm not asking for anything. So I've sued my judge in Texas. She's a respondent. My ex-wife is a respondent because she wants to enforce the order entered by the judge. And I just want the judge to say it's unconstitutional and you can't enforce it. So I go through all this kind of drama with this stuff, and she has hired the most powerful law firm in California. You can go to mofo.com. I'm not lying. That's their actual name, mofo.com. And they accidentally copied a bunch of nonprofit foundation lawyers on one of their emails. It should have been in the BCC column, but it went into the CC. So, my ex-wife has had, dozens of free foundation lawyers given to her by the left. So the left helps their side. But on the right, on the conservative side, we're getting nothing and we're never going to get anything. I mean, frankly, I'm just going to tell you that objectively speaking, the left-wing elites are vastly superior to our right-wing elites. And we will actually never beat them with our current elites. Like, we could talk tough all we want, but in terms of political and social organizing with our current elites, we're not going to beat them. So we either need to get a completely new organization or we need to get new elites for the existing organization. That's the bottom line. Our elites suck and they're not going to help you. If you don't believe that, look at the January 6th defendants.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, You actually wanting to change the laws. You try to become a representative, and our own party fought against you.
They did. Do you know I got the final numbers on that? I ran as a Republican, and the Republican Party spent over $4.8 million against me in a little House district in Texas that pays $7,000 a year. They were terrified that I was going to pass laws criminalizing this and sending doctors to jail for child abuse.
Yep.
They were terrified of it, and they were willing to spend millions of dollars to keep me out. I spent $60,000 of my own money, I think it was, 64,000, something like that. And I lost by 1,300 votes.
Wow.
But they spent the money to get me out. I mean, they said everything. They said I was gay. Got 2 children, married with 2 children. They said I was gay. They said I was never in the military. I had to produce my military doc. All the playbook they're using right now against Vance, they used all that against me.
Well,
just like leftists.
That's something that they always do to discredit anybody that's trying to speak up for themselves. Adam, I'm curious, what's some of the things that got put out there on you?
I not as bad as Jeff, but I have had a lot of I've had Antifa come after me. Not physically, but they've definitely come after me. I've had trans rights activists write horrific articles about me, calling me a transphobic father,
right?
But and anti-gay. But my new attorney, he's gay, so I can't be anti-gay or anti-trans if my attorney that I'm trusting with my situation is gay, you know. And just real quick, I want to mention something that, speaking of gay and the trans stuff, since my attorney is gay, the judge in my case, Judge Juhas, or what did you call him, Jeff?
I call him Judge. His name is Juhas. I call him Judge Judas.
Judge Judas. There you go. So they spent 45 minutes on my son's evaluation at Children's Hospital, the opposing counsel. My attorney went to go fight it, right? And when he started to speak out against it, Judge Judas told my attorney that he is not here for a gender debate. So Judge Judas would not allow my attorney to talk against the gender assessment that was done on my son. I mean,
no, he did the same thing to me, by the way.
Yeah.
He denied me an independent medical exam. And he straight up told me the first day I was in his court that he was not going to decide this, quote, I will not decide this child's medical care. All I'm going to decide is which parent is more able to act in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
So which one is it? So I said, I just chimed up and I just said, so which one is it, Judge? Is the one who wants to let the boy grow up and make his own decision as an adult? Is that parent acting in my child's best interest? Or is it the one who wants to cut his dick and balls off at 12 years old? Which one is acting in my son's best interest? And he looked at me like, I had a 6-inch dick growing out of my forehead.
Yeah.
And we have to say this every single time, but what is and I'll kind of lead you along here because you say it on every interview. When your son turns 18 and he decides to do whatever he decides to do, more than welcome to do it. Just not before he's went through puberty, based on the volumes of research we have. I know I kind of paraphrase.
No, you're right. What I always say is puberty is a human right.
Right.
Because puberty is how we achieve our full human potential. Whatever your human potential is, it's determined by the progress of puberty into adulthood. Okay? And puberty is the cure for gender dysphoria. That's why they block it.
94%
on the global study. Some show high as 99, but the global average is 94% of children simply just grow up and grow out of it. They don't have any problems.
Yeah. When I was that last 6%,
that last 6% is the same number of people that grow up and have some kind of mental health issue. Yeah. So essentially, you could say 100% of children who don't have a mental health issue essentially grow out of it. And that's exactly why these crazy leftists block puberty. They're blocking the cure so they can get a $4 million lifetime income stream.
Yep.
Excuse me.
And
I was going to bring this up a little bit earlier. I know this is hard for you to look at, Adam, but I'm going to bring up this one first. How old is your son here? Do you remember this day?
That's a cute boy. That is a cute child.
I think Aiden was probably 2 or 3 years old at that point.
You don't have to. I think you'll know when I'm going to pull up next. But this is him with his mom, and this is what is going on now. How recent is this picture, Adam?
Maybe 7. That was taken. Sorry, that was taken from the LA Times. The LA Times did an article on me. They took 75 pictures. I don't know how many pictures they took me, but they took a shit ton of pictures of me. They took a shit ton of pictures of her and my son, and they completely made me look like I was this absolute monster. The only picture that they chose of me was sitting in front of a tree with a frown on my face. And they chose that picture that you just showed for the headlining of the LA Times. And I was fucking pissed at him, at the journalist from LA Times. I blasted him all over X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I told him, I said, motherfucker, out of all the pictures, sorry.
You're good. You're good.
I said, out of all the pictures that you could have chosen, you chose that one to fucking headline. I said, you could have chose a picture of me and my son as he was born, and that one. But I said, I can't remember his damn name, but I said, out of all the pictures, you had to run that picture. You run the picture that looks pissed, and then you run that picture. You make her look like a fucking angel, and you make me look like a monster, and then you show my son like this. You didn't show your readers what's left of the LA Times readers. You didn't show them what my son looked like before. You just showed them what they look like now. And then come to find out that this journalist from the LA Times is a huge advocate for the LGBTQ queer community, and he did a whole article on X on how the queers and LGBTQ are being harassed. He did a whole article because he's part of that community. And I blasted him again on LA Times. I've left him countless voicemails, emails stating you guys could have done the right thing. I paid my attorney to sit on that Zoom call with us. We gave you so much evidence to show that I'm not the abusive father. I'm not the abusive spouse in this situation, but you painted the picture as if I was it. And I've not had a response. Again, with Dr. Jonathan Wars, I still have not gotten a response from the LA Times, from this journalist. They could have done the simplest. They could have told the readers that both my judges are part of the AFCC. They could have showed that Judge Harvey Silverman from Pasadena was on the board of directors. And as soon as I dropped the podcast calling out the AFCC, he recused himself after 3 years. And the attorneys that I have talked to have told me they have never heard of a judge recusing themselves after 3 years into a case. The only way that and he never gave cause why he recused himself. So the only thing that we think that why he recused himself is because I said something or we posted something in that podcast that was true about the AFCC. And then he kicks me to Judge Juhas. Within 48 hours, we ended up finding out that Judge Juhas is the president of the AFCC. And if you go on the AFC's website, their website is filled with the LGBTQ trans flag all over it. So you're telling me that there's no bias in either my situation or Jeff's situation with this judge? This judge should not be ruling on a case like this. He should have removed himself from this case because he's going to be biased on this case. He's not going to rule the way he's supposed to rule, which is down the middle. And I've always said that my case is not on facts and proof. This case has been proven off of feelings and emotions, and you can't rule on a case off of feelings and emotions. The one party is not going to win if you're ruling off of feelings and emotions. And that's this whole case, is feelings and emotions. No facts. We got her to admit that I had never hit her. We got her to admit that she has hit me numerous of times, and they still ruled this way. They still ruled on a 5-year restraining order. So mind you guys, I did 3 years temporary. Now I'm on a 5-year. So that's a total of an 8-year restraining order on me. 8-year restraining order for no violence, for calling her. I called her a dictator in one of my text messages. I said, you're a fucking dictator. And I sent her a picture of Mussolini because both of us are Italian, and they were just, there's no facts. They didn't rule off of facts or evidence, feelings and emotion. This whole case is feelings and emotions, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Did she admit to hitting you?
Oh yeah, I had her, dude.
What happened?
I got her arrested.
Oh, she got her. Okay, so she did get in trouble.
Yeah, and so I got arrested because I didn't want my son in rainbow shoes, and I re-engaged a phone conversation with my son that the judge had ruled on. Right, I got 2 15-minute conversations. I had to sit there and look at my son with fingernail polish, earrings, talking about his dresses in the dryer. And me as the father could not correct it, because if I corrected, it was a violation of the restraining order. If you want to talk about they brainwashed my son, they bought my son a book with a rainbow on it. Right. And they bought him rainbow puzzles. Are you telling me that you're not implanting something in that little boy's head? At that young of age, right. You're planting something in his head. Thank you. Yes. So I couldn't say nothing. So I re-engaged the conversation. That got me on a restraining order violation. And I had 15 police officers at my house. They had 15 police officers at my house, like I was Gestapo. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, one of those big drug kingpins.
Right.
I've never been arrested. The only time I ever got a ticket was when I was 16 years old for smoking cigarettes. That was the only time I've been in court coming up to this. And they treated me as if I was a serial killer. Mind you guys, that Charles Manson, we all know who Charles Manson is, right? Mm-hmm. Charles Manson was convicted of murder, and he still kept custody of his kids, and he was still allowed physical visitations with his kids. Charles Manson.
Wow. Well, Jeff has some experience with, being ordered to affirm James's gender and all that. Jeff, you want to talk about?
Yeah, I went through a similar thing where the court basically put me under an injunction and said, you can't tell your son that he's a boy. And they threatened me with that. And when they put me under supervised visitation, the whole concept of supervised visitation for me happened this way. My son told the court-appointed counselor that he wanted to be a boy and that he was embarrassed wearing dresses. So the court-appointed counselor threw him out of the office, and then she initiated a CPS investigation against me, saying that I'd forced my son to say that. And she also refused to provide those records to show to the court that he had said that. And because this is how it works. The whole concept here is the judge has to keep evidence from being presented to him, right? Because that's how you win on appeal. You show that there was abuse of discretion based on the evidence. So anyway, so they put me on supervised visitation because I was violating the gag order and because I was, quote, forcing my son to say he wanted to be a boy. And the whole concept is they have to remove the father from the child's life. Yep. Because boys, as they grow older, will just begin to naturally reject the female identity if their father's around. So they have to remove the father. And they actually know very well how long the child needs to be away from the father. And it's about 6 years. Mm-hmm. And the influence of the father wanes to 0. And that's why the duration of the supervised visitation, the duration of the restraining orders are the way they are. They're designed to eliminate the influence of the father in order to let the boy, flourish under his mother, trying to make him into a girl. And, I'm sorry to laugh out, Adam. I'm not laughing at your situation. I'm just, these courts, American courts across the board. I mean, and this is true in criminal too. American courts are completely and totally corrupt. And I mean completely corrupt. I think you actually would have had a better chance under Stalin's courts than here, because at least the juries often acquitted people in Stalin's courts. The juries would often acquit. You don't get juries in family court. So I mean that seriously. I'm not making a hyperbolic statement. I think you would have a better chance in a Stalinist court than you do in family court. The outcomes are completely prejudged. And the judges manipulate your ability to present evidence. So like, I can't take my son, James, to my own doctor to get his opinion about my son. The judge won't let me do that because he doesn't want contrary evidence to be admitted. So they constrain you this way. They set up arbitrary rules. My judge, Judge Judas has, said that you can't use email. I have to use postal mail, which of course slows everything down.
Right.
Which limits how quickly the court can react to what I request. And, all of a sudden, instead of getting a hearing in a week, it's 4 weeks to get a hearing. He sets a trial 90 days out when I can't even depose my witnesses. He's intentionally trying to prevent me from getting evidence and presenting it to him at trial. He doesn't want it presented. And he's already prejudged the case. This is the thing that we deal with in family court. The only thing that young men can do to protect themselves is not get into the system. If you're in the system, you're doomed.
I'm with you, Jeff. Adam, let me ask you, how much money, if you had to estimate so far, have you spent in the courts fighting for your son?
Well, I'm nowhere near where Jeff's at. I'm maybe $50,000.
$40,000, especially in this economy, is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just to be able to have your own flesh and blood, man.
That's a year's income.
Now, in that time, that much money, have you ever gotten any relief or any solutions by going to that court?
No. Eric, it's been one-sided since the very beginning. One-sided from the very beginning. I didn't want my son to get the COVID shot, and they used that against me.
Yep.
I didn't want to. My son never got sick. He's got good immunity, like me and his mother. Right? Me and her never got sick. Right? Mm-hmm. If we did get sick, it was a cold. My son got that immunity, and he had never got sick. He would get a little sniffle, but that was it. Right. And they said that, dude, this pisses me off when I talk about this. When I found out they were going to give my son the COVID shot, I said the same thing I told you guys. Why are you giving this little boy the COVID shot when he's perfectly healthy? Don't give him the COVID shot, right? The next day I had my FaceTime conversation and my son was crying on the phone, right? Saying, Daddy, I don't want to get the shot. And I said, hey, buddy, you don't have to get the shot, dude, right? You don't have to get the shot. They used that against me, and I can't remember what they said. It's been so long ago. But then I get an email from opposing counsel saying, oh, your son did absolutely wonderful. He was smiling after it. And I said, I don't give a fuck. That little boy did not want to get this vaccine, and you forced this vaccine upon my son. You forced it upon him, and they used that against me.
Yeah, I mean, Mindy Patriot Angel has asked, all of this is child abuse, and these judges and doctors should be able to be sued for just that child abuse. Well, here's the thing that maybe a lot of people don't know, but this is near and dear to your heart. I can see you getting excited. Judges, both at the federal and the state level, have invented a doctrine called judicial immunity. And they have what's called absolute immunity, meaning if they take an action in their official capacity, it doesn't matter if they acted with venality. It doesn't matter if they acted to harm a child. It doesn't mean if they intentionally harmed a child or violated parental rights. It doesn't matter. They're completely immune from criminal and civil actions based on their official duties. And I just will submit to you, you can't have a free society when agents of the government don't have to follow the law.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple. So, my Judge Judas right now, he just flat out throws it in my face. Well, go up to the appeals court on a writ. What are you going to do? I'm violating the law. He's basically saying, yeah, I'm violating your rights. Go up to the appeals court on a writ and see what that gets you. Yeah. So like there's a huge structural problem in the judiciary in the United States. It's probably there are a number of design problems in the U.S. Constitution, and then that rolled over into the state constitutions. But the design of the judiciary is the absolute worst one. And just to let you know, it failed in the very first court case in Marbury v. Madison. Very first court case that the Supreme Court ever decided. It overstepped its bounds and said that it gets to tell the other branches of government what to do, which is nowhere in the Constitution.
Right.
It can, the courts cannot enjoin other branches of government. So like the design of the judiciary was deeply flawed, and it rolled over into the states. The judges essentially act completely without any lawful restraint on their power. And if you think I'm joking, let me explain civil contempt. Under civil contempt, a judge can hold you in jail until you perform some action, right? Until you come into obedience with what the court wants you to do. What if you can't perform the action? We got a guy in Dallas County Jail right now that's been in jail on civil contempt for 28 years. He's been in jail for 28 years, basically life in prison. And because the judge is absolutely convinced that he buried money in order to hide it from his ex-wife in a divorce. And the man just never buried the money, never hid the money, doesn't know where the money is. And the judge has said, I'll just keep you in jail for the rest of your life until you tell me where the money is.
I've never heard of that.
That is perfectly legal in all 50 states.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just Texas.
No.
But go Dallas.
The contempt power is unlimited. Judges have unlimited contempt powers.
They've said, I am God in this room. They
That's
believe
right.
it.
They believe it.
They wield that power.
And the executive branches will just do whatever they say.
Hmm?
Adam, when is the last time you got to see your son?
Physically seen him?
Yeah.
June 26th or 27 of it was either 2020 or 21. That was his birthday is the last time I physically held my son. All right, because I have it more. I used to, when he would come over, I used to measure his head on the wall. So that was the last time I have. Guys, there's nothing. This has been so difficult for me that I had to move back in with my parents.
I understand.
They have criminalized me, and they have criminalized Aiden's grandparents. Aiden's grandparents have not seen their grandson since his third birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing. You would never know that Adam Vena is a father because there's nothing in my house. Nothing in my house that reminds me of him. Everything is gone. It's either in storage or I threw it away. And it sucks because my son never showed an inkling that he wanted to be a girl when I had him. And I said that in court. I said, Your Honor, everyone in here, I said, you can't tell me that my son wanted to be a normal little boy when he was with dad, but all of a sudden you remove the father and he wants to be a girl overnight. It's impossible. It is absolutely impossible that little boy wanted to be a girl overnight unless he was forced or groomed to be this way.
Yep. That's right.
And I know he was groomed. I know. And again, I don't think his mother was 100% on board with this at the time. I think she was, thinking that it was, I don't know if it was cool or, we'll just let him be him. But I truly believe that once the attorneys got involved, once the judges got involved, and once the queer therapists got involved and the doctors, that they brainwashed my son's mother to be 100% on board with this. I truly believe that they told her that if you don't affirm this, you're going to have would you rather have a dead son or a live daughter?
They told me.
Yeah. So I think.
And Elon Musk.
Yeah. This, I don't know how to say this without violating the terms of service. This poofter counselor told me that he asked me in court, would you rather have a dead son or a live girl? And I said, well, I think I'd rather just put you in a grave.
Yeah.
Third option.
Because I think you're giving me a false dichotomy and you're trying to hurt my kid. I think these people, I don't think most of these people actually believe these things. I actually don't even think my ex-wife believes my son's transgender. I think they use it as a source of power and money. Mm-hmm. Every child they do this to is a $4 million lifetime income stream to the clinics. And the doctors that prescribe this stuff get a cut of that.
They are on lifetime medication. It's not one and done.
No, they have continuing care. I mean, they basically have wound care for the rest of their life And then they have these hormones that they have to keep taking, or they become very gravely ill.
Unless you detransition, and then once you detransition, the system completely washes the hands. I mean, we look at Chloe. The system has completely washed their hands of her. I mean, she's still leaking from some of her surgeries, and she can't get proper medical. And
well, that's the horrible thing is the insurance companies only cover transitioning. They don't cover detransitioning if they make a mistake.
That should tell you everything in a nutshell right there.
Mm-hmm. So, I think mothers really don't believe their kids are trans by and large. I think they do it as a source of power to get rid of the father.
Exactly. Yeah, I wonder what would happen actually for both of you if your ex and both of your exes decided one day, you know what, I want them to go back to, I want to detransition or go back to a boy. I wonder what the courts and all the systems would say to them, and then what would happen.
Oh, I think they would talk them out of it. I really do.
I think they'd remove the kid. I think they would then say they're a danger because, again, there's legislation out there.
I never even thought of it. Yeah.
In California, they put the kid in foster care.
Yeah,
they passed the law. Yeah.
So I don't want to ask you while I was listening to you guys is, I know you're both going through similar situations there in California. I had no idea that both of you were under that same judge.
Yes.
Jeff with and moving, James over there. That doesn't just seem like coincidence.
Oh, no. This was coordinated. So this is another thing that's happening. This will tell you how weak our right-wing elites are. So these left-wing judges in Texas, my judge was Judge Mary Brown. I call her Bloody Mary Brown. And I hope she meets the same end as Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary Brown allowed my son to move to California. That wasn't all she did, though. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes, she coordinated with the LA court judges to get an assignment to Judge Judas, because Judge Judas is the official fixer for the trans and gay community in the LA courts.
AFC.
That's his job.
And what did the Republicans tell you during that whole process? Just that little.
So Republicans fought me tooth and nail on the bill to outlaw that stuff. I went up to the Texas Supreme Court and said, look, you can't let my son move to California because they just passed their transgender kidnapping bill. Yep. We just passed a bill outlawing these procedures in Texas. I have an opinion from Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, that these practices are child abuse under existing Texas law. You're removing the protections of Texas law by letting him move to California in order to engage in child abuse under Texas law. And the only judge that voted to protect my son was Justice Devine. Every other justice on the Texas Supreme Court voted to let my son move to California. Justice Blacklock, I call him Black-Hearted Blacklock. He's a dumbass. This dumbass judge named Justice Blacklock. What a fucking name for an asshole. Can you imagine being named Blacklock? What an asshole. So this asshole writes an opinion where he actually says that my son is at no greater risk in California of being transitioned than in Texas. I mean, how fucking stupid can you be? How does a dumbass like that get on the Supreme Court? How does a dumbass like that pass law school? How does a dumbass like that even tally up the bill at a fucking restaurant? I mean, this man is a menace.
I don't know. It makes me think of a meme when you said his name was is he the Black Matlock?
Yeah.
That would have been a good one.
Look up Justice Blacklock and memorize his face and call him the asshole he is everywhere he goes.
So I'm curious, man, with both of you being under that judge, how many other parents that are going through this have you heard from? Because one of the things that gets under my skin so much, for the past 3 weeks, Jeff, we started with you. I had on another father that was a regular viewer of Dad Talk that I didn't know he was going through this. So we talked to him last week. Now we got this week. There's so many people that still think this is a made up thing. It's not really happening. It's propaganda from the right to make it look like the left is just extreme. No, this is really happening. And I think what you guys are doing is one of the biggest parts of the solutions, because you're speaking out saying, hey, this is what's going on. And it's a very controversial issue. A lot of people are just cowards on the issue.
100%.
They don't want to speak about it. Right. But how many other parents have y'all heard from that is going through this?
I heard from a parent up in Canada I was on a DM conversation in Canada, and she was telling me that her son was a normal boy and had a bad breakup with a girl, got in contact with another girl, come to find out it was a boy, a transgender boy. This boy or transgender boy, whatever, talked him into going to a therapist, which happened to be a queer therapist. This queer therapist told him that he was born in the wrong body, and within 24 hours, had him on puberty blockers. And within 6 months, they had the surgery done to him in Canada. That's just one story that stands out to me. That I've had parents hit me up in my DMs all the time, but that's the one story that really reaches out to me. Within a year, that boy was completely coerced to think that he was a girl.
I know that parent in Canada, and he actually spoke out and went to jail for it and suffered for it. I've been contacted by dozens of parents, and none of them are willing to speak out because they're under gag orders. Yeah, they're under gag orders. They're afraid of going to jail. Shit. I keep telling them, what are you afraid of going to jail? I mean, it's 3 hots in a cot, near infinite leisure. You get in shape, lose weight, come out nice and healthy. I don't see the problem with going to jail. And frankly, if you look at how corrupt this country is and how corrupt this judiciary is, if you're like me, I've grown up around people who are rule following people. Dude, they have tried to pull so much stuff on me, but like even the judge, in the 255th District Court, Kim Cooks, that I originally had, she said, wow, we looked at your criminal record. You don't even have traffic. We got to go back to 1984 to get a traffic ticket on you. I'm like, yeah, I'm a law-abiding guy. I'm not a violent guy. I mean, I've cracked a lot of heads, but I've always been legally justified. I've been very careful about that. But my point is, at some point, you just got to go. The system is so immoral that you can't go along with it. And let's be honest, if the system really is this corrupt, you really are a criminal. You probably need to be in jail. You need to start associating with other lawbreakers who don't follow the law, and maybe it's time to start organizing with them. I'm pretty much done with the idea of following the law. There's a famous, quote from English law, that, well, if the law says that, then the law's an ass. And so, I just think we just need to stop following stupid, immoral laws. And I don't do it. I don't follow these dumbass laws. They tell me I can't speak out. I just tell them, throw me in jail for it then.
Yeah, I wish they would have told me not to speak out. They tried to put a gag order on me, and I was almost like, yeah, go ahead, because I'm going to speak even louder. If you think I'm speaking loud now, wait till you put a gag order.
I don't give a shit.
The thing that pains me, fella, I've talked to so many of these guys, and a lot of them might even be watching this right now. I love you, but at the same time, they are going through this, and they are so afraid to speak up or push back because they are in a family court situation, and they're afraid, my kid will go live with their mom. I'm going to lose custody, or there's going to be some sort of repercussion. The repercussion is your kid's mental health and life is at stake.
Here's what I've learned, and if anybody's listening who doesn't know anything about family court, this is the fundamental principle that you need to know. The family courts must decide a winner parent and a loser parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't get Title IV D reimbursements unless there's a loser parent. So there's a $480 million, $500 million incentive for them to assign a loser parent in every single divorce. There can't be 2 winners. Yeah. There can never be 2 winners.
Right.
There has to be a loser parent. Once you are designated the loser parent, the court is never going to interpret the facts in your favor. It doesn't matter if you sent birthday gifts to your child on their birthday every single time, the courts would say, well, that's kind of obsessive, isn't it? Isn't that, they will always interpret the facts against you if you're assigned the role of the loser parent. So the truth of the matter is you have nothing to lose by speaking out. You have nothing to lose by going against the judge. You got nothing to lose by violating the law. You're just simply not ever going to win if you've been assigned the role of the losing parent.
There's no money to be made with the safe parent.
No.
Only the unsafe parent. Unsafe parent makes all the money.
That's right. That's another reason why they always give kids to the dysfunctional parent, right? The dysfunctional parent will never pay child support. They know it.
Right.
The heroin addict mother is not going to pay child support if they give custody to the dad. But if they give custody to the mother, the father will pay the child support and they get their Title IV-D reimbursement. Right? It's all, so they're highly incentivized again to do the wrong thing and give children to dysfunctional parents because they want the functional parent will pay. It's just that simple. That's what I mean. If you've been assigned the role of the loser parent, you might as well just go into civil disobedience, break the law, tell the truth, go after the judge, because you ain't getting nothing.
Nope.
Well, I mean, look at the whole purpose and, constructive family court in the first place. This is a place that profits off of conflict, and it builds itself of, you come here, you'll get your kids, and we're going to help you decrease the conflict. When is the last time you've talked to a parent that went through family court that said, oh, they made my life better, or they made me and my ex get along? It is when they go in there, you're not there to say, well, we had some good years, we just don't see eye to eye anymore. It's about the trashing that person on the other side the most you can so that one can win and one's going to lose. And every time that happens, when you get parents doing this, the kid loses every single time. And not only are they doing this to your family and your children, guys, you are paying out the ass for it.
Yep.
At some point in time, again, we got to stand up and say, enough is enough. I'm not doing it anymore.
Just stop paying them.
That's it. Well,
there's a whole constellation of counseling. You have no idea. So I've spent over $280,000 on counseling. Okay. There's this whole constellation of counselors out there. Lawyers, I had an amicus attorney, what you might call a guardian ad litem in other states or whatever. I've had an amicus attorney, so I have to pay 2 attorneys now. I've at one point I had 3 attorneys I had to pay, court-appointed attorneys, because there was a guardian and an amicus attorney, and these are just judges rewarding their friends with money, and they look at how much money you have and they just take it all. Yeah. And then when there's no money left, they know that you can't come in and fight. So that's one of the reasons why I just don't use lawyers anymore. I think you're way better off being pro se. And if you can learn the rules of evidence and you can read the statutes and follow the rules of the local courts, you're just much better off going pro se. And the judges fear you when you're pro se. People talk about how they treat pro ses worse. Actually, I've encountered it's not true. They just are terribly afraid of pro se litigants because they're not members of the bar, and they will literally go after the judge's bar license. They will hurt. You can hurt judges if you're pro se. So they don't like pro se because they're a danger, not because they're incompetent, right? So you're much better off, in my view, going pro se. And I think the approach that you should take is to throw a wrench into the machine. That's it. You can't win. You can't beat the machine, at least peacefully. But we won't talk about other stuff. But peacefully, you can't beat this thing, this behemoth, this Leviathan. So what you do is you just start using every legal trick in the book to throw a wrench in the machine, and you make them spend money. I just took Juhas up on a writ on a disqualification, my judge, and he had to spend all this time writing his own briefs for the appellate court. Okay. That's 5 to 10 hours of time that I take great joy in. I'll sip a martini and just savor those 10 hours I took out of his life. And I'm going to keep doing that forever. Like until my kids are 18, that son of a bitch is going to respond to me forever. I'm never going to let him get off the hook. Okay. And the court is going to have to deal with me forever.
And if we get enough people doing that,
we can grind it to a halt.
And this clip will be entered into evidence. So I judge Judah.
Oh, I've already told him that. The first thing opposing counsel said was, Mr. Younger, we expect Mr. Younger to attempt to delay these matters. And so I said, well, wait a minute, Judge. First of all, I just filed a motion to compress time so I could get evidence before trial. If I'm compressing time, how could I, the innocent wallflower, be the one that is delaying things? This is the game you have to play with these fools, right? But they're playing the game they're playing with me. Mr. Younger, we won't take emails from you. You have to write formal letters to the court. And oh, by the way, if the letters aren't formal letters with the proper address and everything, we don't take them. We don't take them.
Quill or anything?
Yeah, exactly. With the royal seal in wax, that kind of thing. But on the other hand, when I go into court, at least I have this being on the right. I have no respect for the judge, but I have respect for the office of the judge.
Right.
Just like in the military, you don't salute the officer, you salute the rank, right? Sometimes I'd salute an officer and I'd spell sir, C-U-R, like pig cur, pig, but I'm saluting the rank. I'm not saluting the officer. I'm polite. I'm professional, even with opposing counsel, because those are my beliefs. And it helps me maintain credibility and I can continue to fight. But like these sons of bitches are never getting rid of me. Yeah. When my kid's 18, I'm still not going away.
Right.
I'm still not going anywhere. I'm going to sue for child support till my kid's 26. I'm going to keep him. That court case is going to go on for 30 more years. And that son of a bitch is going to see me in his courtroom. And he will never, ever, ever get rid of me.
So Jeff, with what you know of Adam's case and then, kind of what you've been through, what advice, and you've given some great advice so far. Hopefully Adam's writing all this down as well as everyone out there in TV land. But what advice would you have for him? Any pointers, any either, in court, emotional?
I think at Adam's stage, first of all, let's start with that about ourselves, right? Either you like to kick people's asses or you don't. There's just two kinds of people in my dad used to say there's three kinds of people that can learn for themselves, people that have to learn from others, and people that can't learn at all. Well, I just think there's two kinds of people. You either like kicking people's asses, you like working on a problem and kicking its ass. You like kicking ass, or you're more passive with your life, right? Personally, I just like kicking these sons of bitches' asses. So you have to get, it's like when you get in a boxing ring, you're going to lose for about 2 years when you get in a boxing ring. Okay, you're going to taste a lot of blood, but after a while, you find out you like the taste of blood. Mm-hmm. And you like the conflict. And so you like going in there even though you're losing. So you have to enjoy the fight. You have to just decide that the purpose of this is that I'm going to fight. And the second thing is it has to be for me, this is very important. There must be a visible symbol for my son. So he knows that his father never stopped fighting for him. If there's any hope for my child to reform himself when he's an adult, it will be because I never gave up. If I give up, he'll give up when he's an adult. And I want a visible symbol of that for him. As I say it all the time, when I write my son letters, you deserve everything I have and you're going to freaking get it. You're getting it all, right? And I enjoy the fight because of that. I enjoy fighting with these sons of bitches, and I enjoy the looks on the judge's face when they just don't know what to do when I file on them. I enjoy this, okay? That's the first thing. If you just hate it and you crumble under this, it's going to destroy you.
And that's what I want you to do.
You have to develop a sense of humor about it. Like it's actually funny to watch a judge squirm when you go after him. Especially when you're saying yes or a no, sir, to them. And the more you say yes or a no, sir, the worse it gets. Right? So that's two things. The other thing in terms of fighting is the California, as bad as we talk about it, has some very, very good things for fathers. The child support system is a lot more fair than it is in Texas. I'll tell you that much. Okay.
I've heard that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
California equalizes attorney's fees. Yeah. So if you decide to not go pro se, in California, it's a shall equalize statute. The judge has no choice. I'm actually going up on a writ of mandamus on that issue, as a matter of fact. So you can get attorney's fees. If you want to get a good attorney, you can get one. I prefer pro se generally, but at certain points, I would like to have an attorney. So I'm asking for attorney's fees. There are some other aspects. California does have a bias for 50-50 custody, which Texas most definitely does not. Yeah. Texas, if you're a father, you're getting 27% if you're lucky. Okay. But California has a bias for that. So there are things in California that you could use to your advantage. There are also elements of California court procedure, which you can take advantage of. There's some strategies which I won't talk about publicly here, but I am preparing some things for private website where people can access some of these things. But you can get rid of judges in California, where I gotta tell you, in Texas, you cannot get rid of a judge. Period.
Yeah,
can't do it. I mean, we've got judges that have literally released medical documents of children onto Facebook from cases that they're sitting on, and they still can't get rid of those judges in Texas. So in Texas, you can never get rid of a judge. But in California, you can get rid of judges if they're biased against you and so forth. It is possible. It's hard, but it's possible.
Yeah, we filed two motions of biasness against Judas, and he denied both of them. So
yeah, well, there's some ways to prevent him from doing that. We can talk about offline, because California procedure provides mechanisms that prevent him from passing on his own disqualification. That forces it to another judge. In fact, it'll force it to another judge in another county. And I'm going to ask for Ventura County, which is a Trump zone. So we're going to see how that's going to go.
So I asked for that. I asked for to move the case. My previous attorney, if I could move the case, and he said we can't move the case. But now I'm hearing that I could have.
Well, in my case, what they did to me is Judge Kazadi is. So this is really confusing for people outside California. It was for me when I went there. You get 3 judges in California. You have 3 judges. You have a home court judge, a presiding judge, and a trial court judge. So Judge Kazadi is my home court judge. Judge Kazadi is the one that sealed my case. And when she sealed my case, the court's clerk deleted me from the system. I can't access my own case at the courthouse. Think about this for a second. Opposing counsel can access the case, and I can't. That's the very definition of ex parte communication. These are multiple felonies. So my point, I've gone to the IT department. They say they can't fix it. Can't be fixed. You can imagine what I'm probably going to do next. If the county systems won't support me, if the county systems require ex parte communication with the judge, well, where should we be?
Right.
Somewhere else.
I just want to point out the fact that Jeff is not bowing down to the gag order and all the pressure there, and Adam's learning from it. People that are online are learning from it. This is what we need. We need more people speaking out. And I also throw out there, Dad Talk Today, like, share, subscribe, get on both these guys' social medias, let them know that you are behind them. I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, and I started everything by making good morning videos to my son. I was just sat in the cab of my work truck and said, "Good morning, buddy. It's Thursday or it's Friday. Hey, normally we have Friday night movie nights. Here, let me, I'll let you know what movies I recommend, and that kind of, that's basically how I started. That was my therapy. I didn't trust talking to somebody, a counselor or anything like that. Right. It was my therapy to make good morning videos to my son. Mind you, I had to take him down because of work related issues, but that's basically what I did. I write letters to my son, and I have a website where I post those letters. And again, it's a visible sign to your son when he's 18 that you never forgot him. You were always there for him. Hey, Joe Paquette just said something. He says, in jail 5 times in 4 years. Look at that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So they're weaponizing your kid against you. Young men, you hearing this? Are you listening? They're going to weaponize your kid against you. You're going to wind up in jail.
Yep.
In order to raise your kid. And even then, they're not going to let you raise your own kid.
Unless you're Charles Manson.
Unless you're Charles Manson.
So, Adam, you was talking earlier about how they play this whole thing off of emotions. What's sad is while you're fighting this in court and you're getting no relief, you yourself gets those emotions, and it's, we saw a little bit of it earlier. You got frustration, and I'm glad you had a platform to let some of that out on. Now, since you've been going through this for a while, when you go in that courtroom, what's your emotion like?
I'm hot, and I'll be honest with you. I'm absolutely hot. I have never had anybody stand up for me. I have never had anybody stand up for my son. It has been one-sided in this whole entire situation. And I'll be honest with you, no one has listened to the father. And again, I've said it in court. This is why you have the pissed off father that you had on your hands today, because you guys did not listen to me. You guys did not listen to me. You guys didn't listen to me about Christmas gifts. You guys didn't listen to me about supervised visitations. You guys kept kicking the ball down the court. You guys arrested me. I had to go to child abuse classes. I had to go to anger management classes. I had to do all this stuff. And you guys have never talked to me as an adult. And now that's why I'm mad. That's why I'm mad at these people, because they never took me, the father, into consideration. And I've made mistakes, and I've said it since the very beginning. I've made mistakes, but when your back is up against the wall and no one is fighting for you, the only reaction that I know of as a man is to come out swinging, And again, I've made mistakes, but it does not warrant the criminalization that they have done to me.
No.
It doesn't. When I'm telling you that my son's a boy, not a girl, but you're telling me that kid is a fucking girl, and you're referring to him in court in front of my face. I've said it in court. Have some fucking respect for me and refer to my son as my son. He is not a girl. Have a little respect for me. If you want to call him a girl outside of court, you want to do all that crap, fine. It's not fine, but fine. But at least in court, have some respect for the father and refer to my son as Aiden and refer to my son as a boy, because that's what he was born as. That's what God made him, as a boy.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a deposition back in 2012. I'm sorry, Adam, go ahead, man.
Again, guys, this is absolutely asinine what they have done to me. This is absolutely asinine what they have done to the grandparents. These idiots wouldn't even allow the grandparents to deliver Christmas gifts to my son.
Yeah, they do that.
They would not allow me. They only said, "Oh, we're afraid you're going to put a note." What the hell am I going to put a note of my son's Christmas gifts for? The kid can't.
I love you.
Yeah. Why would I? They're Christmas gifts. Why would I do that? Why would I do that to my son? I've said one bad thing on record about my son's mother. And 99% of the time, I have always spoken respectfully about her. Does she deserve the respect? No, but that's my son's mother. And I'm going to speak respect about her in court. I've always respected her in court, but what you guys have done to me, what you guys have done to the grandparents is completely out of control. They said that because they heard my dad on a phone conversation say, "Stop dressing my grandson in girls' clothes," that got the grandparents not to be able to see their grandson. Even though the judge Harvey Silverman from Pasadena didn't even know grandparents were involved, told minors counsel that I want you to get these people visitations, right? And they still haven't gotten visitations. The minors council in Montebello has not even contacted the grandparents to get them visitation.
And won't.
Yeah, they have agreed to supervise visitations. They haven't done anything to deserve supervised visitations, but they agreed to that, so they have it on the record that way no one can go after the grandparents for something. And they still have not seen their grandson. 4 years later.
So I was in a deposition in 2012. And it's just it's exactly what Jason M. Bermender here in the comments has said. It's reactive abuse. It's a form of abuse where they get you to react, and then they use your reaction against you, but they caused it. I call it this. I told my judge, Bloody Mary Brown, I said, you're acting like the old slave masters in the South. The slaves would rebel, and then they would say, "Look at these violent slaves. They're rebelling. That's why we have to keep them slaves, don't you know?" Right? Mm-hmm. Well, it was the slavery that was making them rebel. Right? That's what they do to you. So in 2012, I was sitting there and they were trying to do this to me. It was a lawyer named Kim Meters, and she's a despicable liar. She works out of Dallas County. She's a lawyer, and she's a character assassin. So she was saying all these things to me, insulting me. I mean, right down to like insulting the size of my cock, and she's never even fucked me. So, and so I was like, Jesus, what's going on here? And what I realized was they were trying to find an excuse to get a restraining order on me. And I realized that by being calm, I'm actually using a very powerful weapon against them. So my model when I go into court or when I deal with opposing counsel is Mr. Spock. I'm just Mr. Spock, live long and prosper.
I respect
And
you so much, Jeff, for being able to do that, man.
I'm a robot. And, the judge says my son's a girl. And I said, oh, you mean James? Well, let me tell you what I think about that. And I'm always very respectful to everybody. I am just not acting out. And it really, really throws them for a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they want the emotion. They want the anger.
They do.
Because that's how they paint you. This is who we told you who they are. It's classic gaslighting, man.
100%. And I'm just not going to do it. So my aggression is going to be shown in just destroying the court's process. I am going to use legal process, and that judge is going to see me every other week for 30 years. I'm going to be at his retirement party. Okay? Like, he's never getting rid of me. This will never go away. UHAS wants to be a private judge now. So in California, they have private judges. Talk about corruption.
Wow.
You got two big corporations like Silicon Valley companies, and they don't want the intellectual property to go in the public record. They hire a private judge at $1,700 an hour. He wants to do that kind of work. Well, I just wonder if the word gets out that Judge UHAS fixes cases in his court. I wonder if those big corporations would be willing to hire him on any case whatsoever. So there's all kinds of levers of power that you have over these morons, because they're morons. Let's be honest, they wouldn't be crooked if they weren't morons.
Well, Judge Judy, she's coined with the phrase, judges are quote-unquote judges are morons.
They are. They are. So that's my whole thing. I'm calm, but I avail myself of every jot and tittle of the law.
I commend you for that, Jeff. I really do. I really do, brother.
Guys, I've said several times, one of the hardest, it's the whole reason I started Dad Talk. When you're going through these family court issues, and as a father, it seems like nothing you do matters, and it's just so stacked against you. It's about all that you think about, and it's very hard to get your mind off of it. And I found myself, I got several friends, but they hadn't been through it. And so I tried to talk to people, and it was kind of just like weighing them down because they didn't understand it. And so creating Dad Talk and finding all these different parents that was going through that, it helped. It wasn't good for me to see that it was happening to other people, but it did let me know that I wasn't alone. And even then, with this, there were so many times that I felt alone. And the reason I bring that up is for both of you guys. What was it like going through this particular issue? I know for you, Jeff, because honestly, the first time I ever heard of this issue was your case.
Right. 10 years ago.
But Adam, what has it been like for you going through this? Have you had many people that you can talk to? Do you find people that can relate to it? There's probably a lot of people that don't even believe it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, there was a certain point before I started making videos, I was absolutely alone. I had absolutely nobody. I had mom and dad, but they're going to be there no matter what, but I never had anybody outside the family. And one day I was sitting in court, and I never posted pictures of my son online. I might have posted maybe 2, because I didn't believe in that kind of stuff. But I'm sitting in court, and I'm death scrolling through Instagram, trying to pass the time away. And this lady pops up, and she's got 5 or 6 pictures of my son. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell is posting pictures of my son? And it was Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham. And she absolutely blew my story up, because at the time, man, I was emailing Tucker. I was emailing all the big name talking heads.
Anybody you could.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I was so desperate at this point. And she posted a video on her Instagram, and that's what completely blew my story up. I got involved with Seek, the founder of Mom Army. And they're all a survivor-led organization of moms stopping child sex trafficking. But Seek and Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham, I hate calling her that because it's Lindsey Graham, but they got me in touch. We did a Zoom, we sat down, and we organized on what to do. We held a rally out in front of Pasadena court. And that has really helped my, mental aspect of this. I still have my days. Normally I'll go maybe 2 weeks and be really depressed. But Aiden's last birthday was June, and I have not been able to snap out of it. I have not been able to. Normally on Christmas, like a week later, I'm good to go. But this last birthday, his 6th birthday, I have not been able to snap out of it. I have not. Every day is getting harder and harder for me to crawl out of bed. And I'm so grateful for the support that I have, but it's not changing the dynamic of what's going on with Aiden. And every day that this goes on, the further deeper down this dark hole that they're putting that little boy into. And I know a lot of people say, oh, he can grow out of it, but I always think to myself, like, yeah, if I get 50-50 custody and he's over at my house, dad is going to be wanting him to be a boy. But then when he goes to mom's house, it's going to be completely the opposite. So there's so much damage that has already been done to this little boy. So much damage has been done to this little boy that he should not, either my boy or Jeff's boy should not be put in this situation of this much damage at such a young age. And I think that's the hardest part for me, is knowing that this dark hole is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper for him, to the point where, I hate to say it, the medications and surgeries are gonna. Jeff's got a few months before something like a decision gets made, and I've got 6 years. So what am I gonna do for 6 years?
What
I
you're
wake
doing
up
right now.
Yeah, I wake up some mornings and I just want to be honest, I just want to disappear.
And let me tell you, it's no accident they gave you a 5-year restraining order for that 6 years.
Yeah,
they don't want you in that kid's life. They want to push him all the way through there.
Yeah. I know.
But the whole system is like this. Like, people, I'm constantly amazed at lay people. And I say lay people like I'm some kind of lawyer or something. But once you've been in the system, it's like that meme, the 2 guys are being hung and one guy turns to the other one and says, "Oh, it's first time for you." It's like,
I got in trouble for that meme, by the way.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one that got you in trouble.
It's like, come on, man. Once you've been in the system, you realize that the system's purpose is to hurt your kids. That's its purpose. The more hurt your child is, the more money the constellation of counselors and everybody around the court make money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if your kid was well adjusted and happy with the situation between their parents, there'd be no money to be made. They want to hurt your kid. The whole purpose is to hurt children so parents spend money. That's what the system is.
Well, the narrative has been for so long that, the reason these kids are fatherless is because we got a bunch of deadbeat dads that don't want anything to do with their kids. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar industry in family court because dads don't want to be with their kids and aren't fighting for their kids.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite.
They're going to fight for kids.
John Brown makes another comment. How many innocent black men are in the system? It's a for-profit prison system. So, I was down at the Dallas County Courthouse on Thursday, and I didn't know that Thursday is when they do their Title IV-D courts, Thursday night in Dallas County.
Yep.
So they were up on the 4th floor, and the line went out the door of these 5 courthouses, and it went down the stairs all the way down to the security office, outside and around the block. And all of those men went to jail. All of them. They were just literally carting them off to jail. There's a tunnel underneath. They just take the elevator down. So they're coming in one side, snaking up and going down into the jail, right? So I asked the lawyer about it. I said, "Man, they're losing money." But the lawyer said, "No, they're not." He said they roll off the Title IV-D reimbursement system onto the prison reimbursement system. And when they're in jail, they make $93 a day on it. So they make money coming and going on you. The whole system is designed to weaponize a father's love for his child. And they don't care if you go to jail. They don't care if you pay the child support. One or the other is going to happen, and they get paid either way.
Yeah. Guys, I'm not going to say I enjoyed the conversation, but I enjoy being with you anytime that we can get together and raise awareness about this. If there's anybody out there watching Dad Talk right now and you're going through these issues, reach out. I want to help you speak out. We need you to speak out. And we need as many voices as we possibly can. And right now is the time to do it, because this problem, I don't see it getting better anytime soon. There is more awareness, but we are seeing more and more of these cases. They were very rare when I heard about yours, Jeff. They're not rare anymore, guys. This is becoming a common scenario. And so we got to start sounding off and saying, look, you're not going to do this. And there's a reason why that judge recused himself, Adam. You talk about after a podcast. They hate it when we do stuff like what we're doing right now. They want people to think that it's a rare situation or that it's right-wing political propaganda. Mm-hmm. They don't like this. And we're not here to do what they like. We're here to fight for our children and to change the world. So guys, please reach out. I'd like to get you on. We are a listener-supported podcast. Guys, I got links down there. Dad Talk Today on Venmo, PayPal. If you would like to support us, your support is much appreciated. We don't get help from the mainstream because we are not the mainstream and we don't push their propaganda. So anything you could do, I definitely appreciate it. Before we get out of here, though, really quick, I wanted both of you gentlemen to give like the current scenario. Adam, what is the current status of this case? What's going on in the courts? Where do you stand with everything?
Right now, we're in the middle of the appeals phase, waiting. They haven't even the appeals court hasn't even gotten the transcripts yet, and that was over a year ago. I call every day. My attorney always tells me to be nice, and so we're just in the middle of waiting for the appeal, and the appeal is just for the restraining order. We haven't even touched on the gender stuff yet. We haven't even sniffed the gender stuff yet. We're just on the restraining order side of this, So I've got a extremely long fight on my hands, and again, the longer this goes on, the worse my son is going to be, and I don't think I'll ever have my little boy back. And that's the hardest.
It's true. It's true, though. You got to get used to it that, they don't come back the same. Young adults don't come back from war the same. And the trauma that these divorces put children through is worse than war. They don't come back the same. I'm just resigned to that. It's just what it is.
Adam, I tell you the same thing. I mean, Jeff, this is about the 100th time you've been on Dad Talk. We ain't going anywhere, brother. I'm glad we finally got to connect. And
that's what I love about you guys. You're going to stick around just like I am. That system's got to deal with you forever.
I was proud when they brought our podcast into the court.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to listen to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff, so I wanted you to give your updates as well. Like I said,
okay. So my judge sealed all my transcripts. So I have to get an order from my judge to get the transcripts in order to file an appeal. So yes, and he obviously won't grant that order, so I can never file an appeal. So I've gone up on writs anyway without the transcripts. Because I have black letter law on my side in several of the cases. And what I'm going to do is ask the appeals courts to issue an order for the transcripts rather than to try to get because once jurisdiction's with the appeals court, I got a different judge and they deal in transcripts every day. They're probably going to order to give them the transcripts. So, but that's a game they play in LA County. The court reporters will be told by the judges not to turn over the transcripts. They don't. So that's first off thing. Second thing is I've got a trial in about 60 days scheduled. I've got to do depositions and I've got to answer discovery and get all my discovery out. I'm really hoping that the appeals court finds that the judge has acted improperly here, and I can get another judge, which can give me enough time to get an independent medical exam. That's what I'm aiming for right now.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, I'm sure I'm talking to somebody hopefully next week. We'll be getting on this again. If there's anything that was to change in you guys' cases,
we'll keep you in touch. Yeah.
I'm just so sorry that this is going on with your kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad for the kids. Sad for the kids.
Yeah.
The one thing me and Adam are going to show our children, there's an unbroken public record that we gave everything for those boys, and they'll have every reason to believe us and to disbelieve their mothers when they're 18.
That's what dads do.
I know you're a little emotional right now, man, but on the way out, if you'd like to say anything to your son for the record, Adam.
I love you, buddy. I miss you a ton, pal.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time.
Night, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will